Aloha and mahalo for coming, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. I'm Dave Lawrence, and we are in Hawaii Public Radio's Atherton Performing Arts Studio. We do a lot of fun things in this room. We've had debates in here, and poetry readings, and live music of every different kind. I interviewed Ziggy Marley right here in this setting. We had Toad the Wet Sprockets, Glenn Phillips in here. We had The Green in here recently, a local reggae band. Today, it's really special because Godsmack make their debut Hawaii performance tonight at the Blaisdell Concert Hall. And Sully Erna and I spoke on the phone the other day, and he was enthusiastic about visiting this room. And it's a pleasure to welcome you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. And how has been, you went to, I guess it was Alaska to hear? Is that the?
Yeah, one of our last stops was Alaska. We did the States, we did Canada, and then we jumped from Vancouver over to Alaska, and now here is the end of the whole tour.
That's not, and then you get a little break here in Hawaii. That was planned that way.
Yep.
Smart.
And then we still get a pretty good break after this as well. We've been out for quite some time. Between the Avalon tour and Godsmack, I've been out for 6 months, so wow. I'm definitely ready to hit the beaches and just decompress.
Oh, we're glad to have you hitting our beaches. There are so many textures, I think, for fans of Godsmack, when they get Avalon or maybe take a listen to some of the tracks, it may strike them as a departure from some of the sound of the band because there are these exotic flavors, textures that are on it. Talk about how they came into your life and sort of manifested into this record.
Well, some of the stuff I just, when I'm home, taking time off, sitting home with my daughter and things like that, I have a piano in one of my rooms, and that's what I probably do the most is play piano. And so a lot of times I was just sitting there noodling around with her, and I would just come up with some good melodies or some kind of structures, and I would put the songs together, but I knew that it was a little bit too far off that end for Godsmack to perform, where sometimes we come up with an acoustic piece and it really fits Godsmack well. As a matter of fact, we recorded our acoustic album here in Honolulu. Right. And so sometimes it works. But then there's other things that I go, it's not ever quite going to be a Godsmack song. So I would tuck it away, and I knew when the time was right and we had some time to ourselves on a break, that I would slowly probably construct some kind of solo record and do a real different kind of music that I also enjoy playing. Because, most people just know me as the hard rock singer of Godsmack. And I also, I come from a very musical background, and with my whole family, my dad's a musician. And so there's a whole different kind of music I like. And I think if anybody knows anything about me, even through Godsmack, they've always known that I had this other side from the Voodoos and the Serenities and songs like that. It's just that I wanted to take that kind of, eclectic sound and even go deeper down the rabbit hole with it. So that's kind of what Avalon's about.
In a lot of ways, Serenity was kind of charting the course because it introduced some of that, like the tabla, I guess it is. I mean, it has this real Middle Eastern sort of percussive sound.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, it is very different from Godsmack. You say it was a process of developing these songs over time. When did you realize you had enough stuff for Avalon, or what was it that made you say, now I'm going to do the record?
Well, we finished, the first person I approached was Lisa Geyer, the female singer on the album with me. And she's been a friend of mine for over 18 years. And she's an amazing, amazing blues singer, 4-octave range, the whole thing. And she also loves bands like Dead Can Dance and Vaz and stuff like that, real world music, kind of primal, tribal, hypnotic, real trancey. And so I had taken her to a Dead Can Dance show where we had met the percussionist Niall Gregory, and then he joined in with us. And when we decided to put this together, Lisa would bring in a guitar player, the guitar player knew a keyboard player. I ended up finding a cello player from Boston University, and she was teaching there. She was from Bulgaria. Niall's from Ireland. It really just started to become this hand-picked, very organic mix of people. And it's no wonder the record came out as different as it did, because it's really built off of a whole different world of musicians that I've never even, been involved in. We have jazz players in the band. We have classically trained cellists. We have blues singers. I come from a rock background. So, but I think it was just, I had a couple of pieces that kind of launched it. I had Avalon that I was working on, and I had Until Then and Eyes of a Child. And then from there, we just got in a room and we really just started, bringing in riffs and experimenting with just jamming and, picking out the diamonds out of the sand. And the rest of it was built in the studio with all the members.
I've heard you say the song Avalon is sort of like a crystallization of where you wanted this project to be.
Right.
Is that explain? I mean, how did?
Yeah, well, it was just the sound of it. It became very haunting. It was very hypnotic. It was most of the record was done with all hand drumming. There was no drum sets. There was only a couple tracks that had a real drum set on it. But just the whole tone and the emotion of that song really kind of set the bar for where I in my head, you know, I knew I wanted to do a side project, and I knew what I kind of wanted it to sound like, but I didn't know what the sound was like because I had nothing tangible yet. So when I heard that piece come together and how hypnotic and haunting it became, I was like, that's the vibe of this band. That kind of set the precedence for what this thing was going to be like.
Is it also, being the drummer, is that influence the percussive nature, obviously? And like, you have a vision in your head, I want to have this really percussive sound.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole record was to be built off of the rhythmic aspect of it. That was the heartbeat of this album, was all the hand drumming and the tribal rhythms and that kind of thing.
Do you sit around at your house with like kungas and djembes? And...
My house is flooded with them.
Wow.
But I'll tell you, Niall had a big part on helping me create the rhythms on this record because he comes from Ireland. He plays with bands like Dead Can Dance, world bands. He does a lot of drum circles, things like that out there in the woods, and he's versed in Brazilian drumming and Celtic drumming, and he's amazing hand percussionist. So he really was responsible for a lot of the counter rhythms and stuff that really blended these beats together.
It's some cool music on the record for sure. We're lucky because we have this facility set to play. You want to play something from the album? What do you have in mind to start?
We can start off with Until Then.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Anything before we get into it, talk a little bit about the inspiration behind this one in
particular. Until Then was kind of a song that was inspired by the U.S. Military. And just, you know, seeing these men that are just so much bigger of a man than I could ever be, going off to war, kissing their little girls goodbye, not knowing if they're coming back, and feeling, or what I think they must feel with the isolation and you know, being alone out there in such a man's kind of world, fighting for our freedom, things like that. And I just try to tap in some of their thoughts and get inside their head about what they must feel like when they're out there by themselves and have to leave their family, friends, and loved ones, and wanting to come home, but not knowing if you're gonna, you know, how it's gonna turn out if you get back. And so yeah, it was just kind of an homage to the U.S. Armed Forces.
A good one to play here, considering we're the most militarized state in the country, loaded down with a lot of servicemen and women. So great. Well, let's take a listen to that one.
All right, let's do it. If I hack this up, we're doing it again. Lie awake and watching you run through my head. I'm alone again, but not for long, my friend. We face another day, and distance has come and taken you far away again. I'll see you soon, my friend, and then I'll sing you my song. And I can't go home alone again. No, I can't, my friend, until then. Taking me back, familiar to me from some other time. or maybe another life. Remember our times, you know who I am. The memory stays until we can be as one again. And I'm coming back, my friend, and then I'll sing you my song.